What if I told you the most dangerous man in the room isn't the loudest, but the one who thinks the deepest, the man who does not seek power but becomes power through sheer mental will? Nietzsche didn't just believe in strength, he believed in the terrifying clarity of a mind forged in chaos. A strong mind, Nietzsche said, is not born, it is built. Like a sword, it must go through fire, pounding, and relentless sharpening. And when such a mind enters the world, it doesn't whisper, it shakes foundations. Welcome to the abyss, because if you dare to build a mind like Nietzsche's, you must learn to walk through madness without blinking. You must stare into the void and smile when it stares back. Most people are afraid of pain, failure, and doubt, but Nietzsche saw them as tools. The mind becomes terrifying not when it avoids suffering, but when it learns to dominate it. The average man runs from hardship. The Übermensch builds his throne upon it. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, or overman, wasn't a superhero. He was a man who transcended weakness, conformity, and herd mentality. He was self-made, self-tamed, and utterly unstoppable. To build such a mind, you must first abandon comfort. Comfort is the drug that numbs the spirit. Nietzsche warned that modern man would become the last man, a creature so addicted to ease he forgets how to live. Step 1. Embrace solitude. Not loneliness, but chosen isolation. Nietzsche retreated into the mountains not to escape, but to sharpen. In silence, the mind is forced to speak. And when you hear it clearly, you begin the war against your own limits. In solitude, your thoughts no longer echo others. They become your own. You develop dangerous clarity. You see through lies, through politics, through masks. And that's when society starts to fear you, because nothing scares people more than someone they cannot control. Solitude also breeds responsibility. When there's no one to blame, no one become terrifyingly strong. You must become radically accountable for your life, your fate, your thoughts. And here's the truth, most won't admit, thinking is dangerous. Deep thinking, real thinking, destroys illusions. Nietzsche didn't just think outside the box, he tore the box to pieces and asked why it existed at all. The strong mind is not satisfied with shallow truths. It questions morality, identity, reality itself. It doesn't follow rules, it studies their origins and decides whether they're worthy of obedience. Such minds cannot be tamed. That's why weak people fear them. Because when you think independently, you no longer need the herd. You stop asking for permission, you stop playing the game, you make your own. To build a mind like Nietzsche, read not to remember, but to awaken. Nietzsche read like a beast, voraciously, relentlessly across subjects. Philosophy, art, literature, science all became fuel for his fire. And yet, he warned, beware books, especially when you haven't lived. A terrifying mind is not just learned, it is lived. Nietzsche walked miles through harsh terrains, dialoguing with his own demons. Don't just learn, experience. Because wisdom is earned in suffering, Nietzsche's health collapsed, his relationships burned. He was mocked, exiled, and forgotten in his time, but he turned every blow into insight. Every scar became scripture. That's alchemy. Do you want strength? Then build a mind immune to public opinion. Nietzsche said, the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you follow the crowd, your mind becomes average. Disposable, the terrifying mind resists, it offends, it questions religion, politics, culture. It is not here to be liked, it is here to see clearly, and truth, real truth, is rarely polite. This is where most people break. They want strength, but also comfort, power, but also approval. You must choose. The terrifying mind chooses solitude over applause, silence over noise, vision over popularity. You must also embrace contradiction. Nietzsche himself was a paradox, a sick man who preached vitality, a Christian theologian's son who declared God dead. That's not weakness, that's the complexity of strength. A powerful mind does not seek to be consistent, it seeks to be real. It's not a machine, it's a battlefield of evolving thoughts. Nietzsche changed, reversed, exploded ideas, and rebuilt new ones in the rubble. So many want clear answers, but Nietzsche taught us the strong mind lives in questions, in uncertainty, in fire. Be willing to unlearn everything, be willing to die intellectually, and be reborn. Lastly, for part 1, destroy your ego, then rebuild it like a god. The ego isn't eliminated, it's transformed. Nietzsche didn't say to become nothing. He said to become everything you are capable of being with no excuses. Most minds remain small because they are shackled to false humility. But humility is not the absence of pride, it's the absence of lies. A strong mind admits its greatness and still keeps building. So here's your first task. Be willing to think thoughts that frighten even you, because only then, as Nietzsche said, can one give birth to a dancing star. You want a strong mind? Then you must master mental discipline not once, but every single day. Nietzsche believed self-mastery wasn't optional. It was the dividing line between the weak and the terrifying. He called for a kind of spiritual aristocracy, a mental elite forged in discipline, not bloodline. Not everyone could reach it, but those who did changed history. Because when your mind is disciplined, you become immune to manipulation. Your enemies panic, your critics scream, but you remain unmoved, calm, calculated, ruthless. Start with your thoughts. Are they yours or borrowed? Most people simply recycle what they're told. News, trends, opinions, all absorbed without reflection. Nietzsche would call that slavery of the mind. Mental strength means filtering your thoughts like gold dust. Every belief, every emotion must be interrogated. Where did it come from? Who benefits from you thinking this way? That is the terrifying power of a philosopher's mind. It questions everything, including itself. Nietzsche didn't just think critically, he thought dangerously, and that's what you must do. To be mentally strong, you must develop will to power Nietzsche's deepest idea. It's not just ambition. It's the raw drive to overcome, expand, dominate your limitations, and reshape your life. This will to power isn't about controlling others, it's about controlling yourself. Your impulses, your fear, your desire for comfort. Every time you conquer yourself, your power grows. Discipline is not punishment, it is transformation. Nietzsche would wake at dawn, write obsessively, walk for hours in nature, thinking, refining, sharpening his ideas like a sword. Here's the rule: protect your mind like a king guards his throne. Guard your inputs, what you read, watch, and hear. Weak minds let garbage in, strong minds filter it ruthlessly. Nietzsche warned against mediocrity masquerading as culture. He called most newspapers toilet paper of the intellect. Why? Because they distract you from your inner power. If you want a terrifying mind, reduce noise, cut distractions, let your boredom become depth. That silence you fear, that's the furnace where real thought is forged. Next, practice voluntary hardship. Nietzsche knew the greatest minds are not built in ease, but in adversity chosen willingly. Wake early, train your body, starve your cravings, choose discomfort. Why? Because suffering voluntarily makes you immune to suffering involuntarily. You become anti-fragile. Fire strengthens you. Pressure focuses you. Pain teaches you. Nietzsche admired ancient warriors, stoics, and tragic artists, those who suffered for meaning, not misery. He didn't chase happiness. He chased depth, meaning, growth. And if you want a terrifying mind, you must detach from the outcome. Nietzsche didn't write for applause, he wrote for truth. Even if no one listened, detach from praise, detach from results, focus only on mastery, on the process. On becoming the kind of thinker who does not flinch even when the world spits in his face. Because when your identity is not tied to approval, no one can control you. You become dangerous. You become unpredictable. You become free, but don't confuse discipline with rigidity. A terrifying mind is not stiff, it is fluid. Nietzsche was not a control freak. He was a dancer, philosophically wild, intellectually alive. Flexibility is power. Be able to adapt your thoughts, upgrade your beliefs, abandon what no longer serves you. A mind that evolves is a mind that terrifies the static masses. Nietzsche's style of writing, poetic, explosive, fragmented, reflected this. He wasn't writing textbooks, he was detonating thought bombs. Be wild but precise. Next, stop seeking validation. Nietzsche wrote, "You have your way, I have my way. As for the right way, it does not exist." This is mental freedom, living on your own terms. Don't wait for people to understand you. Most won't. Don't chase agreement. Chase clarity. Move in silence and build empires in your mind. Because a terrifying mind walks alone, not because it must, but because it chooses to. Its pace is too fast, its path too steep, its vision too high for the herd. You must also resist ideology. Nietzsche hated groupthink, religious, political, even philosophical. He didn't even want followers. He wanted people to think for themselves. That's the paradox of a powerful mind. It doesn't recruit. It infects, it inspires, it ignites, but it never demands loyalty. Nietzsche never begged to be understood. He wrote to awaken. So don't become a disciple of anyone, not Nietzsche, not anyone. Learn from them, but surpass them. The strong mind honors the past, but it obeys no one. And don't forget, madness is a side effect of deep thought. Nietzsche once said, great intellects are often close to madness, because when you think too deeply, you cross boundaries. But that's not a weakness. That's the cost of brilliance. The world doesn't know what to do with minds that don't fit. It labels them crazy. Until years later, they're called genius. So don't fear your intensity. Don't numb your questions. Let them burn. Let them transform you. Let your own mind scare you until it no longer can. Now comes the hard part. Know your demons. Nietzsche believed no man is strong until he's faced his shadow. Your fears, your rage, your shame, they are not your enemies. They are your map. The terrifying mind integrates its darkness. It doesn't suppress it. It studies it, commands it, channels it into creativity, strategy, and vision. Shadow work is power. Because when you know your darkness, no one can use it against you. You become unblackmailable. You become a mirror, and most people run from their own reflection. Nietzsche wasn't afraid to question God, morality, sanity itself. There comes a moment when you must decide, will you be part of the herd, or will you become the storm that terrifies it? Nietzsche's mind didn't just break boundaries, it shattered morality itself. Because real strength begins when blind obedience ends. He declared, God is dead, not because he hated faith, but because he saw the collapse of blind authority as a necessary beginning. A strong mind must destroy false gods, whether religious, political, or psychological. And if that thought scares you, you're not ready yet. Because terrifying strength begins the moment you dare to create your own values in a world built on lies. You've been taught what's good, what's evil, what's right and wrong. But Nietzsche asked, who decided that? Whose morality are you living by? Who benefits from your obedience? Morality, he said, was a tool of the weak, a way for the powerless to shame the powerful. He called it slave morality. The meek glorify weakness, then label strength as sin. That's how control works. But the terrifying mind doesn't submit. It transcends. It creates its own values based on inner truth, not external approval. It doesn't ask, is this allowed? It asks, is this authentic? Nietzsche's overman doesn't follow morality. He builds his own code. One based on self-overcoming, not guilt. On becoming more, not being good. It's not about destruction, it's about evolution. That's why the herd fears him. Because he doesn't play by their rules. He doesn't seek validation, forgiveness, or acceptance. He simply becomes more powerful, more lucid, more complete. here's the brutal truth. No mind becomes powerful without pain. Nietzsche said, to live is to suffer, to survive is to find meaning in the suffering. If you want to terrify the world with the strength of your mind, you must make your suffering your sword. The average person runs from pain. The terrifying mind doesn't. It walks into it, studies it, owns it, and transforms it into wisdom, resilience, and fire. Pain becomes fuel. This is what separates you from the masses. They see pain as punishment. You see it as the forge. And every blow you take, every scar you earn becomes another layer of unbreakable strength. Nietzsche suffered deeply crippling illness, betrayal, isolation, madness. But he never begged for sympathy. He transmuted it all into thought, so potent it still shakes us over a century later. That's your model. Don't run from your darkness, mine it. Turn it into art, philosophy, invention, power. Bleed truth onto the page, scream insight into the void, and smile when no one claps. Because that's what terrifying minds do. They don't ask the world for permission to rise. They rise because they must. Because something deeper than comfort calls them forward. And here's the alchemy. Meaning isn't found, it's made. Nietzsche didn't believe in objective purpose handed down from the heavens. He believed you must carve your meaning with your own bloody hands. That's the essence of the Übermensch.